Hey everybody. So I want to do about a video about the playoff hunt here and who's going to make the playoffs and who's not. And I think my big thing here is that I am not even going to try to predict who's going to make the playoffs. I can tell you who is still in it and has a chance and who is out of it, but I am not going to try to predict who makes the playoffs in either the East or the West because it's way too damn close. These teams are right on top of each other, um, and they're it's impossible to predict. We still have about a month of hockey left. A lot can happen in that time. Teams still have, 12, 12 to 15 games, around 15 games left for each of them, or something around there. I mean, that's a good number of hockey games. If you lose 10 of those 15, you can take yourself from pretty solid playoff position to being in big trouble. So I'm not even going to try to predict who is going to make the playoffs because we just don't know. I mean, but what I can tell you is who is in it and who is not. So in the Eastern Conference, I have the standings up right here on my phone. In the Eastern Conference, obviously everyone in a playoff spot is in it. The only team outside of the playoff picture right now that I think has a chance to get in is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're at 77 points while the two wild card teams are at 79. Everyone from Philly down, Philly's at 72, everyone else is less than them. Everyone from Philly down is out of it. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. Being 7 points out of it at this point in the season is too much. Certainly being 10 plus points out of it at this point in the season is way too much. So from Philly down, everyone is out. So that leaves Columbus as the only team in the East currently outside of the playoffs that I think has a chance to get in. And if they do get in, they could either knock out Montreal, Pittsburgh, or Carolina. They're not catching the Islanders, that's for sure. They're not catching the Capitals, and they're not in the Atlantic Division. So oh, the East seems pretty well set, except for who's going to be that one team that doesn't get in. I think it's between those. I think those four bottom teams: Carolina, Pittsburgh, Montreal, all at 79 points. Columbus at 77 points. One of those four teams is not going to get in. Who is it going to be? Again, I'm not making predictions. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not making predictions because we just don't know. Um, and yeah, that for the East, that's pretty much it. The other thing that's really up for grabs in the East is seeding. Um, we have a fight going on at the top of the Metropolitan with Washington and the Islanders. We have Boston and Toronto fighting for the 2 and 3 spots. Um, that's and then we have the wild card battle. So seeding is very very much up for grabs. But as far as who is in the playoffs and who's not, there's really only one team outside that I think has a chance to get in. And again, I'm not going to say if they do or not. I'm not going to say who the odd team out is going to be. Let's move on to the Western Conference. So Western Conference, we're in a little bit of a different situation here. So the cut line right now at the West with this is the second wild card, which is Minnesota with 72 points. We have, obviously all the teams that are in the playoffs. Nashville and Winnipeg are easily in. Calgary and San Jose and even Vegas are easily in. St. Louis, 76 points, very much in. Dallas and Minnesota, your wild card teams at 73 and 72. Then you have Colorado at 70 points. Arizona quietly coming out of nowhere is actually making quite the playoff push here at 69. And then you have Edmonton and Vancouver at 65. Now, I just said over there that if you're 7 points out at this point in the season, you're probably, you're pretty much out of it. That means Edmonton and Vancouver are out of it if I use the same logic I used in the East that I use in the West. So I'm going to use the same. I'm not going to contradict myself. I'm going to use the same logic. Edmonton and Vancouver are too far out. Chicago, Anaheim, LA, they're way out. They're done. So that leaves Arizona and Colorado as the only current non-playoff teams that have a chance to get into the playoffs that I see in the Western Conference. And really, any chance that they have is as a wild card team, obviously. So again, I'm not making predictions as who's going to make it and who's not, but I can tell you who is still in it. In the Western Conference, you have everyone who's currently in a playoff spot, and Colorado and Arizona still in it. Which of those teams get in and which ones do not, we'll have to wait and see. And I'm not going to try and predict that. But it's quite the fight going on in the Western Conference. It just just as well as the East. But you have a lot of teams. It's really I think the top three in each division seem pretty well set as far as who they are, not necessarily the seeding, but who they are seems pretty well set. It's a wild card fight in the Western Conference. You have Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado, and Arizona. You have four teams. Two of them are going to get in. Two of them are going to go home. And we're going to have to wait and see who does what. But that's where we're at as far as the standings are concerned right now, where teams are, and who's in the playoff hunt and who's not. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the hockey. I'm not going to, my team, I'm a Bruins fan. My team is well established in the playoffs. They're probably going to be the second seed in the Atlantic Division. At worst, maybe the third. They're in the playoffs. Things are looking good for Boston. So I'm not, I have no dog in the fight as far as these bubble teams are concerned. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the hockey. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to make any predictions and have to, worry about being right or wrong. I'm just going to watch because I think it's going to be a lot of fun and there's going to be a lot of good action heading in this final month of the season as we head into the playoffs because teams are fighting for their lives. And I think come the end of the season, there are going to be a few very disappointed teams who only miss the playoffs maybe by a couple of points or 1 point. And that's going to be really tough on them because that somewhere along the way during the course of the season, they blew a game. They had a game where they easily could have picked up an extra point or two, and they didn't, and that's going to come back to bite them in the ass at the end of the year. And somebody's going to be on the outside looking in. So we have tight playoff races going on in both the Eastern and Western conferences right now. We have good teams that are going to miss, and that's just the way it is in the NHL. That's what makes it such a great league. You have to fight and claw for everything that you get in the NHL. You have to play the best hockey that you can night in and night out. And if you don't, you can easily find yourself dropping out of a playoff spot. And I think we've seen that in both conferences. So, the race up to the playoffs should be a whole lot of fun. The actual playoffs obviously take it to a whole other level. But there's a lot of great action going on in the NHL right now, and I cannot wait to see how this all plays out and then get into playoff hockey. So, with that, like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. Check those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise stores are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.